everyone. Welcome to episode 73 of the YarnderWoman Podcast. My name is Melinda. You can find me as YarnderWoman on Instagram and Ravelry. And we have a Ravelry group. You can search that in the groups tab by searching YarnderWoman Podcast. Please come and join us. There's always great conversation. We've got some knit-alongs happening and some both year-long and just this month long, and there's always lots of lovely people to talk to. So thank you for joining me today. It is Monday the 13th of August 2018. I'm coming to you as always from Perth in Western Australia, and it's been a little while since my last episode. That is the theme for this year, I think. If you follow me on Instagram, which is the place I am most active though, as well as Ravelry, you'll know that YarnderMum, my mum, has recently moved into a nursing home. We've got a lot happening there, so life has been very full. I have been getting some knitting done though, so I've got a lot to show you. No studio lights again this week. They're out of commission at the moment. Damien, my partner, is using them for his photography work at the moment, so they are off limits, but not in a bad way, but I just can't access them at the moment. But I think we've got enough natural light coming in today, so I'll be able to show you lots of lovely things. So we will get started with a little broaching the subject, but we'll just do it here instead of going to another segment. So this lovely is a gorgeous white fox, and that was given to me by the lovely Shara, who has the What Shara Made podcast. She's also a fantastic knitwear and crochet designer, so I will definitely link to her in the Ravelry group. Not in the Ravelry group. Well, there'll be links to the show notes in the Ravelry group. The show notes can be found at www.yarnderwoman.blogspot.com.au, and I always have a link to those below on YouTube here, as well as in the Ravelry group, as I said. So we'll move on to finished objects. We have a specific theme to the finished objects today, so without further ado, here we go. Okay, all of these finished objects are either for charity or for a, I don't know, like a kindness project, I suppose. So you're going to have to bear with me, because if you've watched the most recent episodes, you'll know that they've been done either like this without my usual studio lights, but a lot of more vlog style films, because I wasn't able to do my usual podcasting. But I also can't remember specifically what I have and haven't shown you yet. So bear with me if there's a couple of things that you've seen before. I just hope you enjoy them. These would be definitely finished. They might have been finished last time, a couple of the items for charity, but I hope you'll like them anyway. Now, one thing I'm not sure if I have or haven't shown you is squares for the Sister Survivor blanket project. As I'm saying that, I'm pretty sure I have mentioned it, but even if I have, and just in case I haven't, so the Sister Survivor blanket project is being put together by the lovely Evelyn of the Thistle Hollow podcast, which is a lovely podcast. I encourage you to have a look if you haven't yet seen it. And Evelyn is going to sew together a blanket made out of 156 squares, and she's then going to send this to a woman who was one of the first people to come forward in a big class action assault case in America. I will link to Evelyn's episodes where she discusses this, as well as her Ravelry group, so you can read all the details and hear from her the background to it. Now, I went quite gung-ho on, doesn't that look pretty, on my squares. I can't even remember how many I got up to, possibly 14 now. Evelyn's been running this for several months, and I did start knitting these several months ago, and I just kind of kept going, and I haven't yet sent them off to her, but I think they're ready to go now. So Evelyn, they'll be on their way soon. So as I said, when I first heard of the project from Evelyn, I thought it was a wonderful thing to do. I think taking action to commemorate these women's courage. So I believe there were 250 victims, but as the judge called them, sister survivors. That's where the name of the project has come from, the Sister Survivor Blanket Project. And I think it's a wonderful idea. It's quite powerful, I think, to show what the knitting community can do as a way of giving giving some extra hope and joy, I think, to this woman who's very strong and, you know, came forward to speak. Now, coincidentally, the day that I cast on my first square, which is this one, nice and shiny, was the birthday of someone who abused me. I'm not going to go into specifics on that nor the type of abuse, but it was by pure coincidence that that was the day, and I think it was quite, gave a bit of an emotional pull to what I was doing actually. I sort of started knitting and then realised the date, and it did sort of hit me a bit, and I thought, well, this is good. This is a nice way of, you know, putting some positivity into the world and to be part of this wonderful project that Evelyn is doing. So, as I said, this was my first one. It's lovely and shiny, and it's red. How could I not choose red for my first one? What I did for this, I followed the pattern Nana's Favourite Complexion Washcloth, I think it is. It's a free one. I've made many of this pattern using cotton to make actual washcloths and flannels, as we'd call them in Australia. Are they called flannels anywhere else, perhaps in the UK? Is that a British thing? We call a washcloth a flannel. I assume they used to be made out of flannel or flannelette material. Anyway, washcloth, square. So you start at the bottom and you increase each side and till you want it as wide as you want it. Sorry, till you get to as wide as you want it. And then you start decreasing on each side to get your diamond or square, but you knit it in a diamond. And the pattern calls for knit to yarn over as your increase, and then that gives you a lovely patterned edge. But I didn't necessarily want the yarn over pattern because these squares are going to go into a blanket, so I actually did a knit front and back. So that's sort of the edge it made there. So it's quite nice because it's all in garter stitch. It's just sort of like a looser garter stitch, really. So there's that one. This was Knit Picks. What do they call their glittery one? Because Knit Picks Stroll is their normal 75-25. What do they call the shiny one? Glimmer? Glitter? Glimmer? Knit Picks Glimmer? It'll be in the show notes because I will link to my Ravelry project page as I do for every episode. But yes, there's that one, and can't tell you the name of the colourway either, but it will be on the project page. So that was square number 1. Now from here, I'm not sure what order I knit them in, so I'll just show you them because it doesn't really matter, does it? This one is in the Cyborg's Craft Room, and it was in the colourway Space Oddity. This is extra special because Megan of the Cyborg's Craft Room is sadly no longer with us. So that's really special to have her yarn in the blanket as well. Really pretty colours. This one is yarn from Danny, Prairie Girl Danny of the Prairie Girls Knit and Spin podcast, and her yarn company is One Twisted Tree. This one is Soul of the TARDIS, and it's got stellina in it as well. It's a little bit harder to see in this one because the excuse me, leaning over. That one, the Knit Picks one, the stellina has sort of come out in a lot of places. You can see it's sticking out there, for example, whereas on this one, it's much more subtle, so you can't really tell. But trust me, there's glitter in it. This one is by Jinx Yarn, and this is in the Spirited Away colourway. In a recent episode, I showed you a pair of socks that I'd knit with this, and I made one toe too short, but then I gave the pair to my daughter, my stepdaughter, the Yarnderteen. This is the yarn. So that's beautiful. So Spirited Away is a Studio Ghibli movie reference. And it's just beautiful. And this one is dyed just for me, this yarn. This was the Wonder Woman yarn. Knit for me. Dyed for me by a very lovely friend who I mentioned something on Instagram about, you know, wishing I had Wonder Woman yarn. She dyed me some. I showed that back last year when she sent it to me, so thank you so much yet again. And I think that turned out really beautifully. I love all the colours, so that's gorgeous. This one, isn't that nice and vibrant? This is another one by Danny of One Twisted Tree. Now this colourway, I think it's 93 Diagon Alley, so a Harry Potter reference. And that turned out beautifully, so vibrant. I think actually, if I bring this one back, these are very similar. This is the Wonder Woman and Diagon Alley. It's almost like they're like a pastel and a vibrant version of each other. You know, they're nothing to do with each other, but I really like how they came out. I think that looks really cool together. This one is, this is One Twisted Tree as well. I've got a lot of Danny's yarn I bought quite a long time ago, so it's lovely to be using it. This one is called And I Was the Prey, which I always thought was just a wonderfully gothic name. Yeah. And I Was the Prey. This was one of her Halloween colourways several years ago. I'm actually knitting a pair of socks out of this yarn, which I might show you in the next episode. Very quickly, while we're here, I'll talk a bit more again about it, but we're having a red knit along for the month of August. So get in on that. More red and black. Oh, that makes my heart very happy. Oh, this one. So you can see there's some colour changes. This is with self-striping yarn. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see. I'll see how it kind of goes up. I actually did a stockinette stitch on the colour change on one side of this one just because I thought it looked so pretty. So this one is by Diabolic Yarn, and it's actually a Targi nylon yarn. That was sent to me by the lucky, hopefully you're lucky, Becky. Lovely Becky from the Wrapped in Wool podcast. Becky's actually from Perth as well, so every so often she comes back to visit family, and we happily catch up. And I knit a pair of socks out of this yarn for the Yarnder team. This one is yet another One Twisted Tree. This is Dream of the Cosmos. And this is another one that's got the very subtle stellina in it, which I just don't think the camera's going to pick up, but trust me, it's there. That one's very pretty. So this one and, excuse me leaning down, this one I used with another One Twisted Tree that I don't have any more of to make my Doodler shawl by Stephen West. And so there were some leftovers. Actually, all of these yarns are either leftovers. Actually, I think all of them are leftovers bar this one, but this one was just, straight from a Knit Picks ball, so it was easy to get at. So the sort of main reason all of these got chosen is because they were already caked up and ready to go. And because they were leftovers, they were really good for this small project. I think most of these took about 7 grams of yarn, I think. The specifications was 5 inches by 5 inches, like a square. So yeah, it was great to just pick up all the little bits of leftovers and give them a new life doing something new. So that one's really pretty. This one is one that I dyed myself using food colouring. A few years ago, I had Yarnder niece and Yarnder nephew over, and we used food colouring to dye some sock blanks. And this was left over from the one that I did, so that was quite fun. This one is another Jinx yarn. I think this is called Little Sister. Pretty purples. I used Little Sister, or whatever this yarn is called, in my Find Your Fade shawl. This one is another Cyborg's Craft Room by Megan, rest in peace. That one you can definitely see the sparkles. I think this is Broken Mirrors, Broken Minds. Lovely purples. And I think I had used this yarn to knit some little ankle socks for Yarnder Mum. I'm pretty sure I have shown you on a recent episode. This is knit with, I've gone completely blank, White Birch Fibre Arts. And it's in the Dolphin Smooth colourway. And I had knit some socks for Damien out of this one. And I'm pretty sure I remember showing you the socks and the square. But that's that one with the beautiful fading of the colours, the gradient that she does. And this one, lucky last, this is in Junk Yarn, and it's in a Something Sisters colourway. Kemper of Junk Yarn names all her colourways after inspirational women, and it was Someone Sisters, but it wasn't a name that I was familiar with. Perhaps it was from American history. But again, it will all be linked in my show notes. So there we have it. I counted, there's 14. Almost makes me want to do another one so that I can have sort of around 15. I'll let you know if I do. If you are interested in knitting a square or many squares, you don't have to do as many as I did. As I said, I will link to Evelyn's podcast and all the information so that you can get involved if you would like to. I think she's hoping to have it sent out September or October, I think. So I'll be getting this in the post to her this week to make sure that they get there. As I said, the 5x5. A couple of mine are a bit oddly shaped, but Evelyn said, she might be able to reblock them and do edging, but I think, it's better to try and keep to the size as much as possible, because if it's way out either side, then she may not be able to use them, she was saying in a recent episode. But yes, lovely project, great cause, and really quite a nice cathartic knit, because this year so much has been happening in regards to mum, and therefore it's been, playing with my emotions quite a bit. There's been a lot of times I haven't really wanted to have to think about my knitting because there's so much else to think about. So this was really lovely to just grab some yarn that was already caked, that had lovely memories in it from other projects, and then just do such a simple square. It's a great project. The blanket is such a good cause, but it was really cathartic and emotionally soothing for me as well. So definitely I got a lot of benefits from these as well. Okay, and I spoke about charity knits, so other things that have been really great to just grab and go are either leftovers or balls of yarn that are already skeined up or wound up, such as Knit Picks yarns. I've done quite a few for charity of just some nice shawls or neck wraps, and I'll be sending all these to the Kogo charity. I know I've definitely mentioned that before. That's Knit One Give One, Kogo, and they collect items and then distribute them to charities that they're involved with. So this pattern is the Terribly Simple Shawl by Caitlin French, and it's terribly simple. You just do some increases on each side, and I just knit until I used up the whole 100-gram ball. This is the worsted version of Knit Picks Felici, and it's in the Goth Kitty colourway, which is very fun. So it's got purples and pinks and greys, and as you can see, you can just sort of have it as a scarf neck warmer sort of a thing. And the Felici yarn is really soft, so with the nylon it'll wear well, but it's really soft, so I think that'll be lovely and cozy for someone. And because you can never have too much of a good thing, here's another one. This is, same thing, Knit Picks Felici. I think this is Hopscotch, the colourway, so it's sort of like a pastel-y rainbow. There's 6 colours. It's not quite the Pride rainbow colours, but 6 colours rainbow, other than the 7 colour, but it's beautiful, isn't it? Lovely, lovely bright colours. Another Terribly Simple, and I think this might have been the first one I did. This is in Knit Picks Stroll in the heathered something colourway. It's a blue heather that I really like. That's better, more colour there. So again, Terribly Simple by Caitlin French. If you've watched a while, you know that I can't go past the Knit Night shawl pattern. I like it a lot. So this is a Knit Night done in worsted weight, again, Knit Picks Felici. This is the Hawaiian shirt colourway. I think it's quite fun the way the pattern goes, where you get quite a solid bit at the start here before the stripes get thinner and thinner. So that's really fun, nice and squishy and warm. This is just a straight up knit along garter stitch scarf, so not a pattern. I just cast on a whole lot of stitches. I don't think I even counted them when I cast on, but I think when I cast off there was maybe 320 perhaps, so just all the way along. So yeah, I cast on all of them, so it was really long rows rather than just casting on the width, because then you're turning around more. So this is using a yarn I had in very deep stash. It's actually an acrylic. It might be called Javago by Paytons, I think. I got it, as I said, many years ago, before I was really into knitting with a capital K, from Spotlight, which is one of the commercial big box stores here. But it's still very lovely. You know, I'm not a yarn snob. I tend to knit more with natural fibres these days, but, you know, there's acrylic has a purpose for some people. You know, while superwash wool can wash in machines and very easily, obviously if we're donating to charity, the recipient's needs are very different and varied, so acrylic may suit some people as a better option. So that's why that's there, as well as being a good stash buster. Stash buster. Okay, pièce de résistance of charity knits. Isn't it so cute? This is a baby surprise jacket, patterned by Elizabeth Zimmerman. And this particular one, so you buy the pattern through Schoolhouse Press, which is the company that Elizabeth Zimmerman's daughter and family now run. But this one was a preemie version, so someone had been given permission to write a preemie version, so you have to still have the original pattern to refer to, but then there's slight changes to it. And the preemie version is for fingering weight, but if you use worsted weight, such as I did, it makes a newborn size. So this is it here. This is using yarn from Query Fibre, I think, and it's called Vincent and the Doctor. So Doctor Who reference. It's a great episode where he goes back in time and meets Vincent van Gogh. That's how it looks on the back. Oh, I just love how it turned out. And I did 3 buttonholes, and I went through my button stash. On Instagram there was a photo, and I'll put that in the show notes as well. Because I've been going through Mum's house and we've been clearing it out because we need to sell her house to pay for her nursing home fees, I found quite a lot of sewing and other goodies, as you would have seen in the previous episode, but there was a big jar of buttons. So I went through that, and they're just little plain black ones. If they'd been navy blue, I probably would have chosen that for this particular jumper, but there weren't any, and I think black looks just as nice. And sometimes the perfect thing is the thing that you have. So we had black buttons, on they go, and I think that'll work out really lovely. In the pattern, it talks about you can do, oh, there's an end I have to clip off. Ooh, lucky we checked. It talks about doing, picking up the stitches to seam the shoulders, because, as I think I showed in the previous episode, the baby surprise, it's called a surprise because you just knit this sort of manta ray type shaped thing and then fold it over, and all you have to do is seam the shoulders, and then you have a jacket. I'm not a big fan of picking up stitches and doing mattress seaming and that sort of thing, and I remembered in the back of my mind seeing a blog post somewhere years ago, 10 plus years ago, where someone had talked about doing a 3-needle bind off. At the time I didn't know what that was, but I have since learnt how to do that, and so I remembered. So I did the 3-needle bind off inside out, so the seam, let me see if I can get the whole arm out that way. That's what you end up there. It's sort of a raised ridge of the stitches. Now, very quickly, if you're not familiar with the 3-needle bind off, you have stitches on 2 needles, and then you get a 3rd needle, and you actually knit that way. Knit those 2 stitches together, and that's why it's called 3-needle. So you're essentially knitting the 2 sides together, and then you'll end up with 1 stitch on your right needle. From there, you then, after you've done the whole row, you've got 1 lot of stitches rather than 2 side by side, and then you bind off those stitches. So you're first knitting them together, then binding them off. And that gives you this lovely ridge, and I'll put a link in case that didn't make any sense. Gives you that lovely ridge, and I think that would also make a really decorative edge if you wanted to do that on the outside. But I did it inside just to give it more of a traditional looking seam line, so to speak, like for sewing, because I thought that looked quite nice and quite finished, especially for something so little. I didn't really want the, bulging it to be kind of, I think it would still be perfectly functional and fine, but this was the look I was hoping for. So I'm happy that I did it this way. So yes, baby surprise. I'd really like to knit more of these. I just really love the pattern. I think because I'm not really one who's interested in stitching things together and putting pieces together, I really like that you can do it all in one piece, and then because I can knit the shoulders together. You know, you still have to pick up the stitches, but it's so much easier. So for my sensibilities, it's great. So I definitely might do some more of these. Because I can do the worsted weight and get a newborn size, oh, they've gone over there, I can't reach them now, but I think the Knit Picks Felici in the worsted, I think would look really fun, because as you can see here how that goes in a line like that and then it's straight lines, that's just because of the direction that you're knitting in. So I think having a self-striping yarn would look really fun. So that's on my plans at some point. So I mentioned earlier we're having the red along, which is very exciting. That means you can knit anything, knit, crochet, spin, weave, anything using red yarn. It doesn't have to be exclusively a red project, there can be other colours in it, but the only rule is that, you know, if there's, you know, a couple of red flecks, have a think, is that enough red? You know, it should be substantially red. We're running that for all of August. I may extend it just to give people another couple of weeks. So we've got a few entries in already. So we're just having the one thread on Ravelry. So you can chat, show your works in progress and your finished objects all in that one thread. And that's where I'll draw prizes from at the end of the competition. The end of the knit along. It's not a competition. The prizes will be drawn at random. So it's not a competition, to clarify. So we've got some fantastic prizes. We've got 3 patterns, one from Marsha Ibuki, Jen Sheelan and Victoria Zukanowicz. I will put links to all of those in the prize thread, as well as some photos of some of their designs. These are some prizes that I showed, I think, earlier in the year, or I at least mentioned them, but then that knit along never happened. So, you know, I'm not taking prizes from anyone, no one won them. We just didn't have that knit along just because I wasn't able to maintain the filming schedule. So, isn't it so cute? This is a little bag from Japan, little fish. Got beautiful fabric on the other side. And we've got some beautiful stitch markers from Needle Soup Creations. She's in Australia, on the other side of Australia, and she repurposes old vintage knitting needles into stitch markers here. She does do brooches and necklaces as well, so that's one prize. Another beautiful Japanese bag, and inside here is these little sheep. Aren't they cute little clips? Little spring-loaded clips, little sheep that were also from Japan. Got this beautiful bag. This is from the Silver Shed USA. There we go. In the Sock Monkeys, and it's got beautiful red fabric inside. And I've got these. I'm not sure where these are going yet, if they're going to be in this knit along or what they're going to be associated with, but how cute is this? This animal, if you're not aware, is a numbat. It's an Australian native animal, and it's predominantly, if not exclusively, I should know this, in WA, Western Australia, where I am. It's actually our fauna emblem. But isn't it cute? This one's painting, this one's knitting, this one's making a necklace. This is by Tall Rabbit, who is a Perth-based designer. And, oh, actually, the earrings I'm wearing, try and show you, there we go. The little bats, they're from Tall Rabbit as well. So I thought this was very cute because it's not only got knitting, but it's a WA animal. And then we have some yarn. How pretty is this? This is from Daydream Yarns. She so very kindly sent this over. She's on the other side of Australia. This is the Vampire Queen colourway, inspired by Charmed. 75-25. It's so pretty. This is very hard to give up. Aww. That's how much I love you, everyone. I'm giving this up as a prize. I'm not giving it up, it wasn't mine. But I also don't need to worry because Ty from Daydream Yarns so kindly sent me this. Isn't that beautiful? This one is a 5-colour redshift inspired by Stargate. and this is an 80/20, and I believe this type of dyeing she doesn't usually do for her shop. So I'll of course link to her shop in the show notes, but she did specify that this type of dyeing, the 5 colours, is not one she usually does, but this beauty definitely is. So that was a lovely parcel to come home to, and I can't wait to cast this on. I might do a hitchhiker shawl, because the reason we have the red along, it's usually July, but because of things, it was August instead. So on 21st of July, it's my birthday, and I turned 40 this year. That was quite fun. It's actually quite funny. You know, usually I have found as an adult, when it's my birthday, it's like, it's fine, you know, whatever. But I was actually quite excited about this birthday, so that was really nice, something quite novel to feel the excitement again. So yes, it was my birthday on the 21st of July, and the 22nd of July was our 4th podiversary. The anniversary of the podcast has been going for 4 years, which is so exciting. Thank you so much to everyone who is watching now, watched then, will watch in the future. So very exciting. So we have the red along because red is my favourite colour, and it's a perfect celebration of, you know, my birthday. That's my excitement, but the podiversary as well, and that's for all of us. So that's why we're having the red along now. And so back to why I mentioned that in connection to this and the hitchhiker. The hitchhiker is a pattern that the lovely Mass of Hay Brownberry gave me for my birthday. I received lots of other lovely patterns from some other dear friends as well, and I will tell you more about those when I knit them, and I'll tell you who gave them to me. But yes, I need to wind this up. I was actually thinking recently, so much of my knitting this year has been of things that are either leftovers and already wound up, or from, you know, balls or cakes or skeins that are, you know, ready to knit from. Because life has been so challenging, it's, you know, like I was saying earlier, it's been nice to just grab yarn that's ready to go and ready to be knit. And I do think that's dictated a lot of my yarn choices. But I'll get the ball winder and the skeiner, not the skeiner, what do you call it? The Swift. I'll get them out soon, I'm sure I will. But until then, it's not like, you know, I'm running out of things to knit or things to do. But yes, summing all of that up, do come and join in the red along. Whips count, you don't have to have just cast it on in August. Anything that you've already started, as long as you finish it in August. So do come along and have a look. The link will be in the show notes. And I'll see you there. So I thought I would give everyone a quick update on the lovely YarnderWoman, because I know a lot of you love her. She's been on the podcast, she's been on Instagram. So it's a bit emotional, as you know. Well, if you've seen it before, or if you've seen it on Instagram. So YarnderWoman has Alzheimer's disease. She was diagnosed 3 years ago. As Alzheimer's does, it progresses and gets worse. Fortunately, the medication that's available that arrests the development of it, nothing can stop Alzheimer's progressing. There is no cure. But the medication that arrests it, that can slow it down, only about 50% of patients respond to it. Thankfully, she is one. So that has given her more time at a slower pace, but it has progressed, and we've had her name down at nursing homes for quite a while because it was getting dangerous for her to be living alone, as well as just being lonely. You know, she lost her husband 5.5 years ago, my stepfather, which is then around the time we sort of started noticing her memory was going. But yeah, so she was living alone, and as well as it being unsafe, it was very, very lonely for her, and she was very sad and lonely. So that's one of the huge benefits of her going into a nursing home, as well as knowing she's safe, is fed and is healthy. She's also surrounded by people all the time, and she's such a social person. So that's really lovely. She's made some good friends. There's a couple of ladies who are a similar level to her in terms of the progression of their conditions. And yeah, the staff are so lovely at this place. So yeah, you know, it's terrible that she needs a nursing home, obviously, but given that she does need it, the place she's at, you couldn't be better. You know, it's just wonderful. She's got her own room with her own bathroom. The staff are so friendly. And there's no concerns. You know, I've seen the staff being kind and friendly and helpful even when they're not being observed, if that makes sense. Because, you know, sadly there are some horror stories about nursing homes, not just for dementia and Alzheimer's, just nursing homes in general. You know, horror stories of staff mistreating patients or residents. But yeah, this place is wonderful. Wonderful staff, so kind, so caring, and she's really, really happy there. So that's fantastic. So I go and see her every weekend. It's a little bit further away from my house than where she was living before, but it's right around the corner from my brother and Yarnder niece and Yarnder nephew, so that's lovely. She gets to see them quite a lot. I will get her on the podcast again as soon as possible. I know I put her on Instagram quite a bit. She's always so excited that she's got all these fans, and she likes being on Instagram. And when I show her the photo, she says, "Oh, that's me." So that's nice. So yes, she's doing very well. You know, as I said, she's much happier now. She's got her friends. She can be socialising all the time. There's people looking after her. So it's a huge relief to my brother and I. You know, there were times you might have seen on Instagram a few months back, I had to hurriedly go to her house because I was on the phone to her. She put the phone down because the light wasn't on. She couldn't see the light switch because it was dark, but then she couldn't see where the phone was, and she was just wandering the house in the pitch black. So that was quite upsetting for me. So I drove over to turn the light on for her. When I got there, she was okay. She'd found her way up to her bedroom and she'd gone to bed, so she was okay. But so things have been quite difficult for me and my brother, and of course, you know, our partners and family. Everyone's involved, but we've had lots of help from our partners, my auntie especially, my uncle. But yeah, that's been the major reason I haven't recorded regularly this year, because we have been and are still quite busy. As I mentioned earlier and in a previous episode, we're having to sell her house. We have to empty it. It's chaotic here at our house now. We've got boxes everywhere. And, you know, there's only so much time in the day and only so much energy. So yes, it's very draining for everyone involved. But I also have anxiety and depression. I have rheumatoid arthritis, which is a chronic illness. As with a lot of chronic illnesses, you have less energy and less capability, as in physical capability, than your average person. I've spoken before about the term spoons, and I'll link again to that article that describes it. Spoons is an analogy of talking about how much energy you have left if you have 12 spoons and you have to use a spoon every time you do something in your day. So that means that doing all this, you know, physical moving of things, emptying, cleaning, you know, a hyper state more than normal, has been exceptionally tiring and draining, and hence I haven't been able to record as much. I've really missed you, and it's sort of been, you know, podcasting is a happy place for me, so it's also been sad to not be able to dip into that happy place. But as I said earlier, that Instagram is the place I'm most active, so I'm always on there every day, and I can't thank everyone enough. The day we moved Yarnder Mum into the nursing home, I had so many messages, comments on the photos, personal messages, and I really, really want to thank everyone. And even if you didn't see it or weren't able to leave a message or whatever, thank you for your thoughts, but thank you so much. That really did help. It really did. It lifted my spirits. It was just wonderful to know that there was so many people around the world sending us good thoughts and wishing Yarnder Mum all the best. It really, really did. Oh, I'm getting emotional. It really, really, really did help. So thank you for that. Yarnder Mum's doing really well. She's happy. She's safe. I'm working on my own mental health. I am really, really trying to be someone who meditates every day. I did it this morning. I had my meditation and my matcha, my green tea. So that was lovely. So I'll leave it there. I will have Yarnder Mum on again very soon, because I know you are all missing her and would love to see her again. And we'll have lots more fun to show you. And she can show you off perhaps her new room, if you'd like to see that. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. It's been lovely to see you. I'm glad I was able to show you the squares for the Sister Survivor blanket, as well as the charity projects, they can all now be sent off to wing their way to hopefully bring someone some comfort and joy, or many people. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you again soon. I hope you are having a lovely day, evening, morning, middle of the day, whatever time of the day it is, whatever you are doing. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Thank you for being with me, and I will see you next time. Happy crafting. Bye-bye.